Ancient Egyptian civilization, the long story of the Kingdom of the Nile. When we mention ancient Egyptian civilization, many may immediately picture the great pyramids and mummies, iconic symbols of ancient Egypt. However, the prosperity of Egypt didn't solely come from the construction of pyramids or the practice of mummification. It was also due to the Nile River, which served as the lifeblood of this civilization. The Nile not only provided water for drinking and irrigation, but also fertilized the soil with its annual floods, making the land fertile and suitable for agriculture and settlement. The ancient Egyptian civilization began around 2600 BC, when the Egyptians established their kingdoms and settled near the Nile River. The development of agriculture allowed for rapid growth, laying the foundation for this civilization. During this time, the rise of dynasties and pharaohs began to shape the governance and territorial expansion of Egypt. The Old Kingdom, the construction of pyramids, and the invention of hieroglyphic writing. The Old Kingdom, or the Early Dynasty period, marks a significant era in the history of Egypt, starting around 2600 BCE. This period saw the unification of previously divided regions into one kingdom. The pharaohs of this period were powerful, and the construction of monumental pyramids became a symbol of Egypt's grandeur. The pyramids of Giza, especially the pyramid of Pharaoh Khufu, which reaches nearly 146 meters in height, remains one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and is still known today. These pyramids were constructed using a large workforce of Egyptians, many of whom dedicated their entire lives to building these extraordinary structures. During the Old Kingdom, the hieroglyphic writing system was also invented. This system used pictorial symbols to record important information about governance and beliefs, such as pharaohs' histories and texts about the afterlife. Additionally, advancements were made in accounting and astronomy, which further contributed to Egypt's agricultural development. The Middle Kingdom, a period of reunification. As Egypt entered the Middle Kingdom, around 2000 BC, it faced internal and external challenges. However, this period marked the resurgence of centralized power under a new pharaoh. During this time, Egypt recovered from years of drought and resource scarcity, with the pharaoh Amenemhat II moving the capital from Memphis to Thebes, which became the new center of political power in Egypt. The kingdom also expanded its influence into new territories, such as Nubia, an area rich in precious minerals like gold. This wealth bolstered Egypt's economic strength, enabling the pharaohs to secure their power and influence. Alexander the Great, conquering Egypt. In 332 BCE, Egypt was conquered by Alexander the Great, who had created the mighty Macedonian Empire. Alexander's empire stretched across Asia and Europe before reaching Egypt, which at the time was under the control of the Persian Empire. Alexander's conquest of Egypt did not result in conflict, as the Egyptians welcomed his rule. During this time, Alexander founded the city of Alexandria, which became Egypt's new capital and an important center of trade and learning in the ancient world. The Library of Alexandria, one of the greatest libraries of the ancient world, was established here, marking the city as a hub of scholarship and intellectual exchange. The Ptolemaic dynasty, ruling Egypt after Alexander's death. After Alexander the Great's death in 323 BCE, Egypt became part of the Ptolemaic dynasty, founded by Ptolemy I, one of Alexander's generals. The Ptolemaic rule maintained its power and influence, not only in trade and diplomacy but also in preserving Greek culture within Egypt. During this period, Cleopatra VII, the last and most famous female pharaoh of Egypt, came to power. She faced internal political strife and interference from the rising Roman Empire, and initially co-ruled with her brother Ptolemy XIII. Their reign, however, was marred by conflicts, leading Cleopatra to seek alliances with Julius Caesar, the Roman leader, to regain her power. Cleopatra and Caesar's relationship was not only political, but also personal, leading to the birth of their son, Caesarion. After Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE, Cleopatra allied herself with Mark Antony, another prominent Roman figure. Their relationship with Octavian, later Augustus, who was their political rival, led to the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. Cleopatra and Antony were defeated and chose to commit suicide to avoid capture. With their deaths, Egypt was absorbed into the Roman Empire, ending the reign of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Egypt. Under Roman rule after Cleopatra's death in 30 BC, Egypt officially became a province of the Roman Empire. Alexandria continued to be a major center of learning and culture, and Egypt retained its importance in trade and diplomacy. However, under Roman rule, Egypt no longer had the independence it once held under the Pharaohs. It became part of the vast Roman Empire, governed as a Roman province. Despite the changing governance, Egypt's rich cultural and intellectual legacy endured, with the study of Egypt's history, religion, and monumental achievements continuing throughout the Roman period. The end of the ancient Egyptian civilization. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th-6th centuries CE, Egypt came under the control of the Muslims, marking a new phase in its history. This era, however, was different from the ancient Egyptian civilization that built pyramids and mummified its rulers. The Islamic conquest led to significant changes in Egypt's political and cultural landscape. Despite these changes, Egypt's legacy as a center of culture, knowledge, and monumental architecture continued to be celebrated. Archaeological discoveries, including mummies, pyramids, and tombs, continue to be uncovered, offering new insights into the civilization's remarkable history. The ancient Egyptian civilization is not just remembered for its grand structures and burial practices, but also for its advanced governance, diplomacy, and the pursuit of power. These elements have left a lasting imprint on world history and continue to inspire both scholars and the general public today. And this, in its entirety, is the long and fascinating story of ancient Egypt, a civilization that still captivates and inspires people around the world through its cultural, architectural, and intellectual contributions.
Want to hear historical stories in a fun and easy-to-understand comic style? Please hit the button like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's exchange thoughts together.